In a heart-wrenching moment, young Prince Louis and George made a tender pilgrimage to Princess Diana's grave, clutching flowers and stirring a nation's soul. Their innocent gesture unveiled a flood of raw emotion, but it's what they said next that shattered Prince William, leaving him in tears. What words could pierce a father's heart so deeply? Why is this moment resonating worldwide? Join us as we unravel the poignant scene, explore the royal family's grief, and reveal the unforgettable tribute that's moved millions to tears. A royal tribute like no other, George and Louis at Diana's grave. It has been 27 long years since the world lost Princess Diana in that tragic car crash on August 31st, 1997. Yet, even after all these years, her presence is still deeply felt, not only by those who knew her, but also by the children and grandchildren who never had the chance. At the heart of this enduring connection is the quiet, deliberate way Prince William and Princess Kate keep her spirit alive within their young family. Royal author Phil Dampier once shared that Kate makes sure her children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, grow up knowing who their late grandmother was, not as just a royal figure in history books, but as a woman who changed lives through compassion, kindness, and courage. Kate, who herself never met Diana, once admitted on the day of her engagement that she would have loved to know her. That absence is something she understands deeply, and it's why she has worked so hard to make Diana's memory a living, breathing part of her children's lives. Kate's mother, Carol Middleton, plays a quiet yet vital role in this effort. She has been the grandmother they've grown up with, the one who bakes with them, tells them family stories, and shares those precious, everyday moments. But Kate ensures that Diana is not a distant figure from the past. Whether it's on Diana's birthday, the anniversary of her passing, or quiet moments in between, there are rituals, conversations, and personal tributes that weave her memory into the children's everyday lives. One of the most touching traditions is the way the young royals mark milestone occasions with personal, handmade gestures. Perhaps the most moving example came when the family marked Mother's Day with something extraordinary: heartfelt, handwritten cards addressed to Granny Diana. The messages were later shared online, melting hearts across the world. On green paper, in careful handwriting, Prince George wrote, "Dear Granny Diana, Happy Mother's Day. I love you very much and think of you always. Sending lots of love from George." Charlotte's card was pink, decorated with a bright, colorful heart. Her words carried a child's pure sincerity. "Dear Granny Diana, I am thinking of you on Mother's Day. I love you very much. Papa is missing you. Lots of love, Charlotte." These weren't just words on paper. They were an emotional bridge. Children speaking to the grandmother they never met, telling her she is still present in their hearts. It was a small glimpse into a side of royal life the public rarely sees. One not bound by protocol or ceremony, but by love and longing. The loss of Diana remains one of the most heartbreaking moments in modern royal history. Her grave, at her childhood home of Althorp in Northampton, lies on a small island in the middle of the serene oval lake, surrounded by nature's stillness. It is a place of peace, beauty, and reflection, a stark contrast to the chaos and tragedy that took her life. For William, bringing his children into this part of his world is more than a tribute. It's a way of giving them a connection to the woman who shaped so much of who he is today. These moments, both public and private, help the young royals understand that Diana's story is part of their story. And so, when the family marked this most recent anniversary, George and Louis didn't just bring flowers to her grave. They came carrying something far more powerful: words from the heart, words that would stir something deep inside their father, making it impossible to hold back the emotion. William in tears. But what could his young sons have possibly said that morning that left the future king so visibly shaken? Stay with us, because the truth will make your heart race. Honoring Diana's legacy with his children. It was meant to be a quiet, private moment, a family's way of honoring a woman whose name still sends ripples through the heart of the nation. Yet for Prince William, this year's remembrance of his late mother Princess Diana, struck deeper than ever before. Marking the 28th anniversary of Diana's tragic passing, the air inside the Wales household was heavy with unspoken emotions. Though William's children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, never had the chance to meet their grandmother, her presence in their lives is far from absent. For them, Granny Diana is more than just a figure from history. She is a person built up in stories, described in such vivid detail by their parents, that she feels almost real. That's largely due to Princess Catherine's quiet but determined efforts. Friends close to the family say she has made it her mission to keep Diana's spirit alive, especially during anniversaries of her birth or her death. She often tells her children tales of Diana's compassion, her fight for the voiceless, and her unmatched warmth. These aren't just royal anecdotes. They are lessons in kindness, empathy, and courage. Catherine herself never met Diana, something she openly admitted when she got engaged to William. "I would have loved to," she once said, with the faintest shadow in her eyes. And perhaps it is that shared absence, the fact that neither she nor her children have truly known Diana, that fuels her devotion to remembering her. This year, the family decided to visit Diana's resting place in a quiet, understated tribute. No grand public gesture, no official palace statement, just family. The long shaded path to the memorial was lined with flowers, people who never met her, but still felt they knew her. The air smelled faintly of lilies, roses, and damp earth from the morning rain. As they walked, William's face was unreadable at first, his royal composure firmly in place. But those closest to him know the truth. Every August brings a wave of conflicting emotions. He is no longer the young boy walking behind his mother's coffin, but the ache of that loss has never truly faded. Seeing his children's innocent faces as they approached the memorial only deepened the sting. When they finally reached the quiet spot, William lingered slightly behind, watching his children move forward. There was a tenderness in the way George stepped closer, as if trying to bridge the gap between the grandmother he had heard so much about and the reality that she was gone. Charlotte's hands clutched her flowers tightly, her brows knit in concentration as she placed them down. Louis, still so young, looked up at his father for guidance, unsure but eager to follow his siblings' lead. William's eyes tracked each movement, and something inside him shifted. He wasn't just looking at his children honoring Diana, he was seeing a continuation of her, a legacy carried forward not in palaces or titles, but in the love, empathy, and curiosity of three young souls. A witness later described the moment as quietly devastating. William's shoulders stiffened, his jaw tightened, and then, slowly, the walls came down. His eyes glistened, and he tilted his head down as if to hide it. But there was no hiding it, not from Catherine, who stepped subtly closer, her hand brushing against his in silent understanding. The children didn't notice at first. They were focused on arranging the flowers just right, but when William finally crouched beside them, his voice was quieter, softer. Catherine stood back, watching as he pointed to the memorial and spoke in low tones. No one knows exactly what he said, but the way George nodded solemnly and Charlotte reached out to squeeze his arm told its own story. For William, this was more than a yearly ritual. It was an emotional reckoning. The boy who once walked behind that coffin was now a father, guiding his own children through the same grief. Only this time, he had to do it without letting it consume him. Yet in that moment, the loss seemed just as raw as it had all those years ago. Royal insiders say William often struggles with how much to share with his children. He wants them to know their grandmother as she truly was, her kindness, her strength, her humanity, but he is cautious about exposing them to the pain of her loss too soon. That balance is delicate, and moments like this test it. But grief has a way of catching you off guard. The stillness of the memorial, the smell of fresh flowers, the sound of his children's voices, it all converged into a wave of memory that William could not hold back. His vision blurred, and for a brief, unguarded moment, the future King of England stood in silent tears. This wasn't weakness, it was love in its purest form. Love for a mother who shaped him, love for the children who would never meet her, and love for the woman who stood quietly by his side, helping him carry the weight of both. The family stayed there for a while longer, speaking quietly, occasionally exchanging small smiles that tried to lighten the mood. But beneath it all was the unshakable truth. Diana was gone, yet her influence was woven into the very fabric of their lives. As they turned to leave, William took one last look back. No cameras, no speeches, no public acknowledgments. Just a man, a son, still missing his mother after nearly 3 decades. Family reflections on Diana were about to take a deeper, more personal turn. But could anyone have predicted that the strongest emotions of the day would come not from the children, but from William himself? Stay glued, keeping Diana alive in the hearts of the next generation. Prince William has always carried the memory of his late mother, Princess Diana, close to his heart, not just for the world to see, but within his own family. For him, remembering Diana isn't just about nostalgia, it's about teaching his children who she was and what she stood for. Through stories filled with warmth, humor, and love, he ensures that Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis grow up understanding the grandmother they never met and the woman behind the crown. William and his brother, Prince Harry, offered a glimpse of their childhood in the 2017 documentary, Diana, Our Mother, Her Life and Legacy. They shared small, intimate moments that revealed Diana's playful and caring nature. William recalled trips to amusement parks, spontaneous visits to fast food restaurants, and quiet adventures that brought joy to ordinary days. These outings were more than just fun. They were Diana's way of teaching her children that life outside royal duties could be simple, light-hearted, and full of laughter. Even during challenges, her sense of humor and gentle guidance helped them navigate life with resilience and love. These memories didn't stay confined to William and Harry. William has carefully shared them with his children, who affectionately call her Granny Diana. In their home, photographs of Diana hold special places, and her stories are told again and again, keeping her presence alive. Through this, George, Charlotte, and Louis can form a bond with a grandmother they never met, feeling her spirit in their daily lives. William's devotion ensures that Diana's essence continues to influence the family, shaping their values and giving them inspiration to carry forward. But it's more than just stories. Diana's values, compassion, empathy, and service, play a central role in how William and Kate raise their children. From a young age, the children are encouraged to understand that privilege comes with responsibility. They learn to notice the world beyond palace walls, to care for others, and to act with kindness. William often draws from Diana's charitable work, showing his children that influence is most meaningful when combined with humility. Whether it's visiting hospitals, helping the homeless, or supporting charities, these examples guide George, Charlotte, and Louis to live by the same principles that defined Diana's life. William's approach is careful, blending royal tradition with lessons in humanity. By instilling Diana's values, he ensures that her legacy is not frozen in time. It evolves within the family, shaping how the next generation behaves and thinks. The choice of godparents, Charlotte carrying Diana's name, and the everyday lessons of empathy and respect all reinforce her living presence in the household. Diana is not just remembered. She's actively felt, her spirit quietly guiding her grandchildren in ways both visible and subtle. Through daily life, shared memories, and living values, Diana's influence shapes the young royals in ways that will last a lifetime. Her ability to balance public duty with personal warmth is mirrored in the family, guiding George, Charlotte, and Louis as they grow into thoughtful, kind, and aware individuals. Each story, each act of kindness, becomes a thread connecting the past to the present, ensuring that Diana's example continues to leave a mark not just on the family, but on the next generation. Prince William has created an environment where Diana's spirit is more than a memory. It is a guiding light, a quiet presence felt in small gestures, shared laughter, and daily reminders of love and care. Through him, her children learn not only who she was, but how to embody her values in their own lives. the legacy of Princess Diana thrives, not just in photographs or public admiration, but in the hearts of George, Charlotte, and Louis. And as the world watches this family carry her memory forward, one question lingers. How does the public truly feel seeing Diana's influence live on so vividly in the next generation? Keep watching. The world reacts to George and Louis's touching tribute to Diana. When word spread that Prince George and Prince Louis had quietly brought flowers to the grave of their grandmother, Princess Diana, the images became an instant global sensation. The sight of the young princes standing beside their father, Prince William, in such a still, emotional moment was enough to stir memories, reopen old wounds, and reignite the conversation about Diana's enduring influence. In Britain, the moment was splashed across front pages. The Guardian, The Telegraph, and the BBC all described it as rare and deeply moving, a glimpse of the royal family in a private, almost vulnerable setting. It was not a staged balcony appearance or an official engagement, but an intimate family act of remembrance. Social media lit up instantly. Hashtags like Princess Diana, Never Forgotten, and Royal Family dominated trends for days. People posted black and white images of Diana, candle emojis, and personal reflections on the day they first heard the news of her death in 1997. For many, it was a chance to express admiration for the way William has made sure his mother's legacy remains alive for his children. Across the Atlantic, American media viewed the moment as something more than a family tribute. It was a symbolic passing of Diana's values to the next generation. People magazine and ABC News ran features pairing the fresh images of George and Louis with old footage of Diana hugging children in hospital wards or shaking hands with AIDS patients. These acts, once groundbreaking, are now etched into history as defining her compassion. Commentators stress that Diana's name still evokes powerful feelings decades later, and her example of humanity continues to inspire people of all ages. In Australia, coverage tapped into long-standing affection for Diana. The Sydney Morning Herald and news.com.au reminded readers of her warm, down-to-earth charm during her royal tours there, when she often broke protocol to connect with ordinary people. For Australians, the sight of George and Louis placing flowers echoed Diana's own belief that compassion and family came before ceremony. The moment also sparked deeper conversations among royal historians and biographers. Andrew Morton, who authored the famous biography Diana: Her True Story, told ITV News that involving the children in this act of remembrance was significant. In his view, it wasn't only a personal tribute from William, it was a subtle public statement about the monarchy's changing relationship with grief and authenticity. Where the royals once kept such emotions tightly guarded, this was an example of vulnerability being embraced as a form of strength. International media didn't just report the story, they dissected it. CNN interviewed psychologists who explained how public acts of grief from prominent figures can bridge the emotional gap between them and the public. When people see royals openly remembering loved ones, it strips away layers of formality and reminds everyone that, behind the titles and traditions, they are human too. Perhaps the clearest measure of the moment's impact came not from the headlines, but from the comments sections beneath them. Thousands of people from different countries and generations shared their thoughts. Some had met Diana and described her kindness firsthand. Others knew her only through photographs and stories, yet spoke of how she had influenced their own lives. Many credited her with inspiring them to give more to charity, to volunteer, or simply to treat people with more kindness. This deeply personal family act also reignited debate over Diana's lasting mark on the monarchy. Even critics, who often view the royals as distant, acknowledged that this scene showed a more human, relatable side of the institution. For supporters, it confirmed what they have long believed, that Diana's principles of kindness, empathy, and duty to others are still very much alive in her children and grandchildren. For Prince William, the overwhelming public response was a clear reminder that his mother's legacy has not faded, even as the royal family navigates a world where public opinion is more divided than ever. And for George and Louis, It was a quiet but meaningful introduction to the woman whose life and values helped shape the father they know today. It was more than just a gesture, it was a message. But what deeper meaning lay behind the blooms they placed at her grave, and what did those flowers truly represent? The deeper meaning behind Diana's flowers. When Prince George and Prince Louis laid flowers at Princess Diana's grave, it was more than a tender tribute. It was rich with meaning. Each bloom was carefully chosen, carrying layers of symbolism tied to Diana's life, her public image, and the private love her family still holds for her. Sources close to the royal household revealed the selection was deliberate: white lilies, forget-me-nots, and white roses, each telling a part of her story. White lilies, often seen at funerals, represent purity, commitment, and restored innocence after death. For the people's princess, they stood for the sincerity and selflessness she displayed throughout her public life. Forget-me-nots added a deeply personal touch. Known to be one of Diana's favorite flowers, they were often planted in Kensington Palace gardens during her lifetime. In the language of flowers, they mean remembrance. Including them signaled that even though George and Louis never met her, they would always carry her memory forward. The choice also nodded to her humanitarian work, which often focused on those society forgot. White roses added another layer. They symbolize innocence, loyalty, and new beginnings, qualities Diana embodied. Roses have long been associated with her. Memorial gardens dedicated to her, such as Kensington Palace's White Garden, opened in 2017, feature them prominently alongside lilies. Placing them at her grave linked this family moment to her public memorials. Even the arrangement spoke volumes. The flowers weren't in a formal bouquet but placed loosely, almost as if picked by hand. This reflected Diana's love for simplicity over rigid royal tradition. She preferred personal gestures, writing her own thank you notes, making unannounced hospital visits, and stopping to speak with those others overlooked. The informal display mirrored her spirit perfectly. The colors carried meaning too. White dominated, symbolizing purity and peace, while soft pinks and pale blues suggested affection, calmness, and hope. Blue also tied back to forget-me-nots and symbolized stability, a fitting emotional tone for such a tribute. The act of laying flowers is itself steeped in tradition. Across cultures, it's a way of connecting the living with the dead, expressing love and grief when words aren't enough. While royal flower laying is often ceremonial, this was intimate and unpolished, echoing the heartbreaking sight of William and Harry walking behind their mother's coffin in 1997, surrounded by blooms from mourners around the world. By choosing flowers so intertwined with Diana's life, William ensured his son's tribute carried unspoken meaning. It was a gesture of continuity, showing how values, memories, and even favorite flowers can be passed down through generations. It also reinforced that Diana's legacy lives not just in public memory, but in quiet family traditions. Perhaps the most powerful symbolism wasn't in the flowers at all, but in the hands that placed them. Two young boys, growing up in the very royal world Diana once tried to make softer and kinder, now carrying her memory forward in their way. But what is it about Diana's legacy that keeps the world from ever letting her go? Share your thoughts in the comments and remember to like and subscribe.